No, all good. All right. So how's quarantine going? How are you and the family?
Family's good. Family's good. Can't complain. Like I said, I'm using this time in the quarantine just to bond, more with the family, especially since when I'm not, home. I'm always bouncing all over the country or whatever. But I can't complain. I'm just making the most of things.
How's training going? Obviously, it's a little bit complicated.
All right.
With
Still staying slim, keeping trimmed down, close to weight till waiting for that phone call when things, start to move back to being normal. So I don't want to be too much out of shape or overweight. But I'm making the most of things. I can't complain.
you doing a lot of running? Is that
Oh yeah,
that seems to be what I'm doing right
yeah,
now?
cardio, lots of cardio.
You've trained in the past with Terrence Crawford, who I think is number one in the world right now, arguably pound for pound number one. What's it like getting that training in with a guy like that?
That's it. Well, I got the Bud T-shirt on now, but yeah, Bud is he's good. He's a great individual to be around. He brings a lot of energy, a lot of experience. He's like another trainer in my corner. So to be around him is definitely a huge advantage for me, especially mentally. Because training with somebody like that each and every day during camp is a blessing.
Your road and I guess your journey to get to where you are is something that I almost relate to like a film. Like it almost seems like surreal almost. You had a long road. You spent 9 years in the military. You competed at the Olympics. You had quite the journey, and I think it's probably one of the most inspiring in arguably all of boxing.
Sure.
So can you talk a little bit about your military experience, I guess, and how it's played a role in your boxing? And first and foremost, man, thank you for your service. I'm Canadian, but love to anybody who serves.
I appreciate that. Well, I enlisted back in 2003. 2 years. I mean, for one, I'm from New York, so being from New York during the whole 9/11 incident that we had, it was my main, reason why, I enlisted into the military, to the Marine Corps especially. But yeah, 2003 I enlisted. By 2005 I was already deployed to Fallujah, Iraq. Which was an eye opener. I was only like 19 years old at the time too. I was still a kid. I was basically still a kid. But I learned a lot over there, and I learned mainly to appreciate life and value things a lot more, especially the things that I do have. By 2007, I was deployed again, and then it was after that deployment where I decided, to give boxing another chance. Just to do something different for under the Marine Corps, and that's where I mainly got most of my honestly my amateur boxing experience was during my time as a Marine, because it got me all the way to, like I said, the Olympics, the Olympic team, and where I eventually became the Olympic team captain, which was a huge honor. But yeah, most of my like the Marine Corps to this day plays a huge role in my life, because like I said, I enlisted. I was like still 17 years old, going on 18 in boot camp. So most of my adulthood was in the Marine Corps. So I credit a lot, that I'm going through now thanks to the Marine Corps, because even my personal boxing career, like as you see, with Top Rank, they admire my military background, so they put a lot of content from my military career in play with my boxing career. So
I think I think as well. Like I'm an MMA junkie. I'm obsessed with mixed martial arts. I'm a new boxing fan. And one of the things that I guess made me reach out to you was your background and your story. And I think that is a selling point as well. And I think it's probably one of the big reasons why you're at a place like Top Rank, where people admire people who have fought through certain things, and especially people who had served. Question that's kind of, you probably no one's ever asked you. I said it's kind of like your story and your background is kind of like a movie.
right.
Have you ever thought, like, maybe after you're done, that maybe a movie should be done, kind of to in your honor, to kind of
It's crazy. My partner, my business partner and close friend, JC, from out in LA. You can find Wild Card King at Wild Card King on Instagram or Twitter. But they actually been pitching that idea for a while, especially after I won my first world title. that's been brought to the table. I mean, for the most part, I've just been focusing on my career.
Yeah.
But, a movie has been talked about, even a book as well. So, those are things, I can see myself, doing as well. Even during my career, just to start the groundwork leading up to that point. But yeah, the movie has definitely been mentioned before by numerous people.
Who's someone that you'd want to play as you in that movie?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I think like at least right now while I'm still young, if I was to do it, I'll do at least my the older me as myself. But for the most part, people brought up, my son because he's basically like my twin. He would play like my younger years, of course. But yeah, man, I haven't really thought of an actor who potentially could play me.
Does he do any of your kids do boxing, or have they
They do other sports, but they don't do like my junior. He wants to do boxing, so I'm sending him out some gear and stuff. But for the most part, they do like track, baseball, soccer, and things like that. I'm trying to get into more physical sports, of course. But like I said, anything they want to do, I support. But I think my junior is definitely trying to pick up boxing now.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter to you if it's combat.
Anything they want to do, I'm going to be a father and support it.
Yeah, I know like a lot of parents, like my parents, if I told them at 16, 17, like, hey, I want to get punched in the head, I don't think they'd be super supportive of it.
Yeah.
I was a swimmer, so not much physical contact there. No shots to the head. What's the ultimate goal? Obviously, you won your first world title back in 2019, the day after my birthday. So congrats on winning that. Must have been huge. It must have felt like all your hard work has paid off.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was to me that was one task on the list, like you pointed out. What's the goal afterwards? For the most part, I just want to unify and continue to win more world titles. Of course, just continue building. And more importantly, just keep testing myself. I never get satisfied with just one thing. After I won the title, I was like the following week, I was already thinking about, okay, what can I do next? What can I do next? So I'm always trying to, go to the next level and keep pushing myself. I never want to get too comfortable, but definitely I want to win probably another world title in the division I'm in now, and then potentially move up to another weight class and win a title as there as well. But there's always more out there, and I'm if it's available, and if it's in arm's distance, I'm definitely gonna go for it.
Is there one fighter? Obviously, you have the belt that, in my opinion, one of the best in the world too. Lomachenko used to have. Is that a fight that interests you? Obviously, he's in a different weight class now.
Of course. I mean, Lomachenko's one of the best, like you pointed out, one of the best in the world, and I think it'll be a huge honor to share the ring with him. And that's what I mean. If he's still at lightweight, I move up to lightweight while he's still there. Maybe we can do something at lightweight together. But definitely, like I said, I just want to continue fighting the best out there. Leo Santa Cruz is another name on my list. Miguel Burchell as well. But yeah, definitely. Any of those guys that you just brought up too, like Lomachenko. Why not? I feel like I've overachieved more than what people thought I could do anyway. So why not keep going? Keep pushing the meter.
Yeah, I've been reading speculation on you and Carl Frampton. Is that still the talks? And is there a date for that? Do you know, or
right now,
location?
There's not a date. The original date was June 13th, but obviously due to the coronavirus, things have got pushed back. But we still can fight by the summertime at least. So I'm just waiting. I'm just sitting back waiting for my promoter Bob Arum at Top Rank to come back with something new, a new word or whatever. But Carl Frampton is definitely still the number one priority right now. So we're just hoping that we can still get that fight going as soon as possible, at least before the year is over with, and before we move on to other things.
Do you envision that? Do you want that in the United States, or does it matter to you?
Honestly, it looks like it's going to happen in the United States. As a matter of fact, I've been just getting word from the media that due to like I said, the date being pushed now, there's only a certain time of the year where you can have a fight outdoor in Belfast, and then like pretty much once it starts cooling down, it gets real cold in that area. So now they're having ideas of bringing the fight back to the U.S. I know he's actually said that he wants to have a fight at Madison Square Garden now, if that's a possibility. So, me being from New York, I would not argue against that. But yeah, I just feel bad for the fans out in Belfast, who in Northern Ireland, who wanted to fight to potentially go out that way. But things happen. But we had to adjust. So, like I said, the fight happens in the U.S. It happens in the U.S. My main thing is as long as I get in the ring, I'm happy with that.
Are you physically good? Like right now, if it were to be June, are you good to go in June, or do you?
That's it. Like, cause I would still have at least 8-week training camp, to get ready, and I have plenty of time to to get myself properly prepared for that fight physically and mentally. So yeah, if it was still in June, I would have it's no issue with me getting up and forming with my team like Terrence Crawford and the rest of the guys, and because I have a strength coach, I have a nutritionist on hand. So yeah, that wouldn't be the issue. Like I said, as long as I get the date first, we can easily map out the camp week by week.
Okay, I have I reached out to a few friends of mine who I guess are more. I like boxing. I grew up watching boxing, shifted to MMA, and kind of came back with big fights like Fury and Wilder. Like I wasn't missing that. But I asked them, I said, like, what sorts of questions? And one of them who kind of watched you win the title, and one question he had, and I think it's a great question, is where do you think your boxing career could have been if you didn't go into the military?
I don't know. That's a great question. Honestly, I've heard that before, that question before, but I don't think it would be as prestigious as it is now, because if you look, a lot of my fights now on the main event level, they're based around my military background. Like my last 2 fights, they've done special features with my Marine Corps background. So and for the most part, I was mentally toughened up by the Marine Corps. So I don't know if I will be the same fighter, even if I didn't join the Marine Corps. So that's why I say I give a lot of credit to everything that I've done in the Marine Corps to what I do now.
Yeah, I really like. I think it's on your bio or one of your posts. You said, you've conquered. You've done all these things. You were in the military. You had some personal troubles as well in your past, and not anyone in front of me doesn't scare me. And I think that goes a long way to say, military. I've seen it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think people who kind of go through that makes them a better fighter in turn. So maybe if you didn't go in the military, you may not have become a world champion. So who's to tell?
They have a different mindset on things. It may not be appreciative, on things that I have. So yeah, the Marine Corps definitely still plays a huge role in my career.
The one thing that's always bothered me, I guess, about boxing, and I think a lot of people in the MMA world kind of view it the same way. I think there's pros and cons to both. One of them is that there's 4 champions or 5 main champions per division. Is that something that you like or something you don't like? Obviously, you have one of the belts, so it's.
I mean, it's kind of frustrating at times, even for the fighter, because you want to because at times when you have all those titles, you get labeled as just a titleist instead of like a world champion. So to me, that's what I mean. Like, my goal is to start unifying titles to prove that I'm the best in the division at least. But, like I said, if you look at it, for the most part, that mainly comes down to the business of boxing nowadays. So, it is what it is. But like I said, if champions, eventually just form together and, make great fights amongst each other, it helps make the sport a lot easier to watch and for people to recognize who's the real champion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I find it's hard. Like you saw it, I guess, with Pacquiao and Mayweather for a lot of years. They each held different belts, same division, but they could never make the matchup.
Right.
And I find it you never know who the best is.
Had an opinion who was number one between the two of them. So yeah, exactly. I get it.
Exactly. Like for example, Spence and Crawford, you don't know because they won't fight or because they can't make the fight. I think for the most part, like I said, it's not just the titles that have the issue. It's the too many promotional parts. At least with like MMA, you have your Bellator and UFC, but there's not too many different big promoters out there where the best aren't fighting the best. And guys are both. At least in MMA, you see fighters jump ship from one to the other. But to make those fights at least, So, boxing is a lot different. Once a guy is signed to this guy or this individual, it's kind of hard to get those big fights that we want. You mentioned MMA. Are you're a fan of MMA? I know you're a fan of Conor McGregor, but are you a fan of MMA as a whole?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's your fighter? Who do you support?
I used to watch a lot of John St. Pierre.
George St. Pierre, Canadian.
Johnson Johnson. George St. Pierre, yeah. And then you know what I mean. Then we had the Spider, and then he took those losses. But he at least lost to a fellow guy from Long Island, so I wasn't too upset. I wasn't too upset. But so I keep up. Just like I said, mainly with the women fighters. That's what I love about MMA though. When their women fighters get a lot more respect than I could say than women in boxing. So
absolutely, I only know one female boxer, Clarissa Shields, right?
I'm actually friends with Cyborg. Cyborg. I'm a fan of Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
So it means there's a lot of great fights that were even like, and I gotta give credit to women like Ronda Rousey who's putting it on the map. Putting in women's fighting out there like that, and it made them so popular. And then a trail of other women just followed behind her. So that's what I love about MMA. They at least they take care of they take care of their women athletes. Sometimes boxing maybe can take a page out of that, but yeah, like I said, I'm from like I like a lot of like I said the old school MMA fighters in terms of now, so like the Rampage Jacksons and guys like that at times. But yeah, I still keep up with it. Like I said, I'm not one of those boxers that like knocking. I appreciate it's a different craft, of course. So I don't try to compare the two. I appreciate both of them for what they do. I don't try to say, well, this one's better because of this. No, it's two different crafts. Yes, they're both combat sports, but they handle it two different ways. You know what I mean? It's not like, what was it back in the day? Man, Pride FC was my thing too back then. Pride was huge back in the day. But yeah, like I come from that era. Growing up, watching those fights. I mean, people like I said, people tend to forget how UFC started. Like, there was no weight classes at times. But, yeah. But that's just But like I say, Dana White's a good guy and is involved.
Do you think that had you started, obviously MMA is a much newer sport than boxing. Do you think had you started 5 years later, 10 years later, you may have decided to do MMA?
I don't know, because like I said, MMA it's more than just, people don't understand, it's more than just kicking and punching. Like, a lot of these guys come from like a different like martial art background.
Yeah.
So and I really wasn't really into that even growing up. So I couldn't say like, oh, I would do MMA, because no, I mean, like I said, boxing just did my thing, because there's always a boxing gym where I was at. So, and it wasn't too many like, jiu-jitsu gyms and things like that of that nature. So it's kind of hard to say.
This platform that I built, I guess, in MMA, I kind of developed it by making predictions and giving my thoughts on who I thought was the best of all time. So I'm going to ask you those types of questions if you don't mind. Who are your top 3 boxers pound for pound today?
Pound for pound today? It's kind of oh, sorry. Give it back. Pound for pound today. Ooh. It's kind of hard, because every time I look, it's always changing hands, man. One guy who I'm disappointed in that keeps messing up is Jones. Because he's had a great run, but he also was in trouble with the whole drug situations and things like that. And he has the potential still to be great, but due to his troubles outside of the cage, kind of like hampers his legacy, moving on. And of course, many are in love with Conor, but he kind of took some time back, and especially after his last loss and things of that nature, and so. It's kind of hard. Like, even with boxing, like, it's kind of like, 1 minute you'll say Lomachenko's number one, then the next minute Canelo has a great fight, and then people will say Canelo's number, and then there's Bud. So it's kind of hard. That's why for me, for the most part, I just appreciate and enjoy greatness as I'm witnessing it. Because it's kind of. But I feel like a lot of these guys out there will be just great in their own way when it's all said and done.
Who's your best? I'm not familiar with boxing. Who's your top boxer of all time?
Of all time, rest in peace, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker is probably one of my favorites. But it's so many. Like I said, same thing goes with MMA. There's just so many. I can't just choose one.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I just like guys at the top of my head, like Winky Wright, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather. So there's so many great champions out there, but it's just hard to pick one.
Has there ever been a time where, because you've met Floyd, you've met Manny, has there ever been a time where you're like, oh my God, it's Floyd Mayweather, or oh my, like, have you ever been starstruck or like taken back by the people you've met?
I believe I'll say like it's always comes down to the first time when you meet these individuals, especially when you come from the amateur ranks to the professional ranks. I was like, I think Manny Pacquiao was probably the first big star that I met face to face. Before Floyd, I met Manny Pacquiao. And I was just like honored just to be in his presence. But I'm a real humble guy, and guys like Manny is the reason why like today I'm humble myself, because Manny, huge megastar, but he still remembers where he came from, and he's never changed. So, I look at guys like that, and I'm like, I want to be something like that for people to remember me by when I'm done with boxing.
Well, last question. Outside of combat sports altogether, what are you watching on TV? What are you doing to occupy your mind? Is there anything, any shows?
I just finished watching all 3 seasons of Ozark. So, of course, everyone watched Tiger King, but for the most part, I'm just like spending time with the family and, watching movies with my daughters, especially, thank God for Disney Plus. So, I'm definitely on Disney Plus a lot, but I'm just, for the most part, just making the most of a bad situation into a positive thing. So I'm just, spending time with the family and just, relaxing, resting my body, resting my mind. And because, like I say, when things go back to normal, I got to hit the ground running. So that's what I've been doing.
I appreciate you taking the time, man. Fan, and I'm speaking to a world champion, so I'm humbled, and thank you for taking the time, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. You take care. We got to do it again sometime, man, for a follow-up.
Yeah, for sure. Once you when you win another belt, I'll have you back on, and when you write that book, I'll be the first one to buy it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, man.
Take care.